As you know, disagreements, arguments, and fightings are a natural part of everyday living. In other words, they are a fact of life. Hello, my name is Dr. Carolyn T. Long, and I am a therapist, author, minister, and consultant. And I want to talk to you a few brief moments about conflict resolution, doing it God's way. Humans disagree because they are wired differently. We have different histories, different experiences, and different agendas. Often, how one fights, pursues a disagreement, is more than what the disagreement is actually all about. If you grew up in an environment where conflict was handled with lots of fussing and cursing and yelling and screaming and name calling and maybe even physical violence, then this may be how you handle conflict. Or on the other hand, you may have been so turned off by your childhood experiences until you may have gone to the other extreme. And you may say, I don't like conflict, and so you will avoid conflict at all costs. So when the people in your life, maybe your wife or your husband, will want to sit down and talk about maybe a conflictual matter, you are not willing to engage with him or her because you are afraid that it is going to end up in a yelling match because you haven't learned other ways to handle the conflict. This is all you know, and so you would like to avoid that if at all possible. The fact of the matter is, whether one yells, screams, gets very angry, slams doors, or maybe even engage in physical violence, or whether one goes to the other extreme and clams up, the conflict does not get resolved. And so that conflict gets pushed down, and as new conflicts arise, it gets pushed down as well. And so over a period of time, there are a mountain of conflicts that have not yet been resolved. H. Norm Wright, who is a Christian counselor and who has written numerous books, says that communication is to a marriage what blood is to life. If you cut one's jugular vein, then they'll bleed out in a matter of moments and they're gone. Well, he was talking specifically about marriage, but I would modify that statement to say that communication is to any relationship what blood is to life. If you shut down the communication, whether it is with your next door neighbor, it is with your coworker, it is with your doctor that you're receiving service from, if you cut down the line of communication, then the lifeblood of that relationship is drained away. So it is important that we communicate, but it's also important that we understand that there are some rules and guidelines for communication that will help us to negotiate or at least to fight fairly. Resolving conflict God's way addresses three consequences. Consequence number one is the consequence of conflict and confusion. And the example here is a house divided against itself cannot stand, according to Mark 3:25, and the story of Abraham and Lot in Genesis chapter 12. A second consequence is that of unity and agreement. And the example here is Genesis 11, where is recorded the story of the Tower of Babel and answered prayer in Mark 18. Thirdly, there's the consequence of resolving conflicts. The example here is that when a consequence is resolved, there is no root of bitterness. that can spring up, and the person is free to glorify God, according to Romans 15, verses 5 through 6. This includes the spiritual and the practical, and provides examples and role plays so that one will know how to fight. And when I say fight, I'm saying fight in quotations, in a conflicting situation to make it a win-win situation for all. Jesus is our example. He did not have a problem confronting. And likewise, we need to be able to confront, but we need to be able to confront in a loving way, and we need to be able to handle conflict in a loving way such that all can win. Thank you for listening. And if you have questions or problems in dealing with conflict and need help with that, please contact us. There is hope, there is help, and there is healing. Thanks again for listening.